And welcome everybody to the 13.10 GitLab retrospective. We just completed the 13.10 milestone and release, and we'll be discussing the lessons and learnings from that milestone here today. I'm Sam Goldstein. I'll be the moderator today. We also have Tanya here, who's going to be taking over as moderator next time. So, hey Tanya, thanks for that. In terms of the time today, we're going to be spending about 5 minutes on discussing the previous retrospective improvement tasks, things that we talked about last time, want to follow up on. We're going to be then going into the discussion topics. I think we'll be focusing the discussion this time on one topic, since there was a lot more interest in one than the other. So we'll spend about 14 minutes on that. So I hope everybody's feeling chatty. And then we'll spend about 5 minutes on tracking items for the next release and wrap up. So diving into that, we will start with the previous retrospective improvement tasks. Tiago, I'm not sure if Tiago's online yet. It's be a little early in his day, but here's the first item. I will verbalize it. Helpful tips were shared around ways to get MRs merged more quickly. We need to verify the correlation causation on this, but the mean time to merge for the subdepartment is down from 8.26 in February to 6.03 in March. So it sounds like a nice improvement there, and guess some more analysis that they're looking into what exactly the cause is, but that's great. Next item is Christopher, and I think Nick Nugent is going to be talking about this one. Nick, do you want to take us away?
Sure, yeah, this was a follow-up from an incident, and the question was, do we have other upgrade situations that won't work because Canary and production are not running the same version? And so we opened an audit issue. Over 80% of teams responded. Actually, it might be higher than that now. We got a couple last minute responses. Thanks everyone who took the time to respond, especially during with everything else going on. The short answer to the question is yes. We did identify other situations. There's a more detailed summary in the issue, but I'll just go over a couple key takeaways here. One is that this isn't just an issue with us using a Canary stage. It's a concern anytime you're running a multi-node GitLab deployment, you care about zero downtime upgrades. So this also applies to self-managed customers as well. Yeah, we had several groups sharing their own situations and strategies. And then just a couple of the potential prevention ideas included adding more examples to the multi-version compatibility docs, highlighting multi-version compatibility in the MR template, automated migration testing, and also potentially automating zero downtime upgrade testing with the GitLab environment toolkit. And I say potentially, and actually that's already being worked on by quality. So yeah, definitely some promising things there to address this.
Well, thanks for that update, Nick. I just had a couple questions real quick. One is the feedback looks like, we aren't broke other than adding new things like token rotation was an example where operationally the code base wouldn't have to change necessarily, but, so like that's the distinctions that I was encouraging to see just from that perspective, at least that was my read. Do you think we should create a training around this, like a piece of it, and have ICs basically take that training?
Yeah, I'd have to think about that some more. There's certainly quite a bit here, but I also wonder if maybe we just need to raise more awareness around some of the documentation that's already there, like in the multi-compatibility docs. So I think before like considering a full training and sort of something that's mandatory, my question would be, is there a way we can just make sure we're surfacing this more and ensuring that that maybe as MRs are opened, that's something that's being checked off the list?
Yeah, good question. When I say training, I really mean lightweight, where literally we go create an issue template and then we have engineers actually go take it, right? Where they read through documentation as opposed to like some type of video or thing. So we could potentially put a video in. Okay, it sounds like you're receptive to that idea. I'll add it to the list. I'm not assigning to you. We'll figure out like who maybe is the right person to help us with that.
Sounds good. Yeah, happy to help with that follow-up.
Hey, thanks for that, Nick. And I think you've got the next item as well.
Yes. So yeah, also from the last retro, yeah, we had seen retrospective engagement decline, and partially because it's I've heard from several people that it's hard to remember everything that happened in the last 3 or 4 weeks. So we were trying to find strategies to prompt for retro items weekly or incorporate into our weekly scheduling call. We didn't find a great way to incorporate into our weekly call, but one thing that I did try was to just make sure to add our scheduling call notes to the retro issue itself every week. And so, you know, when it does come time for the milestone retro, it's a little easier to surface those items that came up in the weekly discussions. And I think that's helped a bit.
Nick, one thing that we might consider is if we create those retrospective issues early at the beginning of planning, and then team members can submit feedback on those retrospective issues for the milestone that they're planning and delivering on and shipping through the course of that time period, instead of not having the option to start collecting feedback until the end. It's one thing we've found kind of successful in product org retrospectives. We start a retrospective as soon as we're starting the work.
Yeah, and that's where, yeah, and to clarify, that's, yeah, when I was adding those notes, it was to the retro issue that was created right at the beginning of the milestone.
Great.
Okay. So right there. Yeah.
Yeah, and just the package team actually has a weekly retrospective that we run, and that I think helps people kind of think kind of proximately to what's going on rather than waiting to a monthly thing to follow up. So I'll link to the handbook in the agenda.
Good discussion. Thanks for that. I'll try to keep us moving here so we get into the discussion topics, but yeah, a lot of good ideas there. Nick, anything you think we should track for next time there, or should we close that one out in terms of retro tracking?
I think we can close it out. Thanks. And thanks everyone for the additional advice.
And then we're on to Kenny talking about inclusivity, a form of inclusivity here with the retro.
Yeah, we linked the issue. There have been 5 or 6 MRs related to updating our language instead of using team, using group, to make sure that at GitLab here, group means product group, and that's inclusive of a lot of different functions, including product and UX quality and development. So we've done all those. I think the renaming is complete, but there are some next steps proposed, one of which is adding performance indicators for each function references within the self-generated retrospective issues. So feel free to contribute to that. We'll continue to work on that inclusivity. Sam, regarding should we keep it and track it for next time? I think it's complete in terms of reframing, but I'll continue to track that issue for the next steps.
Awesome. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
That moves us on to Dan.
Thanks,
Item
Sam.
5.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, so the package team is doing a bunch of work with other groups across GitLab in different departments, and we've added a label, and the follow-up here was, and we've been trying to use that label to track the cross-fruit dependencies to better communicate. We're actually going to iterate on this a little further by raising this specifically in our quad planning meetings every week and making sure that it's called out in all of the milestones planning issues as well. That way we can actually have a better view into where these dependencies are, so we could reach out to those teams that we need assistance from. So that's kind of our iteration. Happy to follow up on this next time if we think that this is going to be valuable.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd say feel free to copy it down to the items for next time. And yeah, it'd be great to get another update on that. Thank you.
Cool, will do. Thank you, Sam.
And then Mac, do you want to cover the last item in this section?
Yes, thank you, sir. So I promised to follow up on how to broadcast or celebrate wins from our tests more broadly. I did a big filter on the communication of my team, and I found out that a lot of these are actually in our Slack channels coming up. So we'll add some process and awareness on making sure it rolls up into our release retrospective and also in this doc. Sharing another also recent win with a prefect performance on the 10K reference architecture tests. And then this is not completed yet, so I'll be happy to hold the ball on completing this in the next retro as well, and then co-working with Tanya there.
Excellent, excellent. Yeah, I think this is great too, because it's just the nature of bugs is that, you know, when they're visible, it's usually in a negative way, and you know, it's easy to miss when they don't get out into the wild. So it's really good that we're doing that. All right, well, now diving into the discussion topics. We had 2 topics to propose, but essentially everybody voted for one. So I thought we would spend probably 10 to 12 minutes now, based on where we're at in the hour, talking about this. Topic is that during the course of this milestone, we saw kind of an increase in high severity incidents on GitLab.com. As many people are aware, there were a lot of folks that were pulled into various efforts to help, you know, optimize or improve things there. Good news is we've actually seen a pretty significant, major drop in the number of incidents, and some real major improvements there. So a great time to look back, and if people have thoughts about what went well there, what went poorly, ways we could improve, and kind of just how the organization responded, then yeah, this is the perfect time to discuss those. So Christopher, I think you had the first comment in the doc.
Yeah, I just want to say thanks for everybody's efforts and this, you know, for the folks who have been involved. Really appreciate all the hard work there. You know, the one thing when I was reading through the retro, I thought to myself, gosh, this feels like what went wrong, but I could also argue that this is also what went right. Certainly from a scheduling perspective, it's not what went well, but we were able to react quickly and adjust and basically get these problems under control. You know, I think that's a good thing to kind of recognize, both from you know, good engineering practice, operationally, quality, and business opportunity. So just want to call that out. And I'm really curious on the feedback, because when we did this, it was kind of broad-based and it was a broad brush, and we weren't sure if folks felt like they had enough information, or, you know, if they could even activate. So I'd really be curious on feedback around this in case we have to do this again sometime in the future.
Yeah, and I have the next topic there. So we have already created a retro issue for the database performance prioritization epics that we have. So early and often feedback is welcome and encouraged. And then I just want to put a note there that for each of the other rapid actions, we have at least 2 that I'm aware of going on right now. They'll each have their own retro according to our rapid action handbook process. So people will have plenty of opportunities to give feedback.
I'll verbalize this as I type it, but I was curious, Sam, you mentioned.
Sorry, go ahead, Jake.
Sam, you mentioned that, you know, we've seen major decreases in the incidents, improvements to stability. I think a lot of us and the team is still focused on, you know, working and moving things forward and improving things. I'm curious what the best way to like celebrate or showcase the improvements over time as these things are ongoing, especially these longer ones that are like, you know, over the course of several weeks, we're working to improve the database. And I think that having kind of a good feedback loop of the improvements being made and the wins that we're getting from some of the hard work would be helpful for like maintaining morale through some of this sort of longer slogs of working through these things.
Great point, I think. Yeah. Do you want to respond, Craig? Or
Yeah. So it's going to be part of the exit criteria for at least the database performance prioritization to make sure that we have that dashboard, and you can see the measured improvements. We actually talked about it a bit this morning. So the CPU peaks prior to this happening, we were seeing anywhere from 70 to 90% on the primary. And since the improvements have gotten out to the primary, they're usually staying below 60, which is, you know, it's still fairly high, but it's averaging in the 40 to 50% range. So I can put links into the main epic so people can see some of the dashboards that we are looking at, and then we will definitely produce something that's a little more consumable at a glance. But overall, we've seen some measurable improvements to the primary database. So again, as Christopher said, thanks for everybody that jumped in on this. the reaction has been great, and the performance improvement is measurable at this point in time. So thank you.
I'd also encourage and have encouraged folks like the engineers working on these issues that when they release those changes, and in some cases you're able to see a graph or something that indicates an improvement, to make sure to take a moment and share that. So like in the Rapid Action Slack channels, there's a few of them. There's lots of examples of kind of individual wins there, and I don't know, for me, yeah, definitely it's really nice to see that. Like it just is a good feeling. And so yeah, I'd encourage everybody to share those. And one other thing I'll add is that yeah, we've done some analysis, like Craig was saying, of the CPU metrics and kind of what the impact is. So I think we're starting to be able to quantify that, and I believe the plan is to do some additional analysis there, and hopefully that's something that can be shared broadly, so we can kind of look in aggregate, what was the impact, and with our increasing load, because it will continue to rise, kind of how much headroom does that give us? How do we, how do we anticipate this type of situation in the future? Any other thoughts about, I know we're getting towards the end of the discussion time, but there was a lot of decisions and reactions made, and fairly quickly with limited information here. Any feedback on improvement or things with the benefit of hindsight could have been done better?
I would think probably what might be helpful is, given the rapid actions, if we could share broadly the retrospective issues that we create around them, so that people could actually add specific feedback around the ones they're involved in. I think that'd be really helpful for people. I don't have any real specific feedback. I know as being close to, but not, I guess we were related in package at least. I'm wearing both hats right now. It would be really helpful to give people a space to actually think through their feedback and put that down somewhere. So if we could just share those, that would be awesome. Thanks, Sam.
Excellent. Yeah. Would anyone have a suggestion of, we could share those in the doc here? We could ask the DRIs for all the rapid actions to include the links maybe under the discussion topic here, and then folks will have one place to look for those. Does that sound? I see a few.
Yeah, I think that's definitely the way to do it, and maybe even let's add it as a next action item for next time, is to basically go back and look at those, or kind of give a summary across the board from that perspective.
Yeah, I like that.
And I have one item as well, Sam, just sort of thinking out loud. So it's half baked, so apologies, but I almost wonder if each stage should maybe have some sort of rapid action emergency playbook or something like that. So if something comes up, maybe we have people or teams pre-allocated that could be utilized in situations like this that arise, just to minimize disruptions to the stage, and make sure that whatever high priority items we can still keep in motion while also supporting this effort.
Makes sense. I have seen, yeah, in other places, occasionally you have like a team that's like a rapid action team that's, job is to kind of continuously respond to whatever the, emergency of the day is. So it'd be a pattern you have to think about, like how that might work someday here at GitLab. All right. Any last thoughts on the discussion?
Yeah, excuse me. So part of what we saw from the database prioritization initiative was that a lot of these were, not a lot, a good percentage of them were issues that we knew about a while back, like some of them going back a couple years. And I know we have a proactive discussion going on about how we plan as a team, and the issue is actually planning as a team, where we start incorporating the stage dashboards for error budgets and stuff, so that we can balance out some of the tech debt issues that we know are lingering out there, so that we can be a little more proactive on making sure that these things don't build up over time. And those stage dashboards will help us to identify trends where our SLOs are slipping before they turn red. And so we don't have to be in such a reactive mode. So I think we're making the right steps to identify how we make sure that these don't happen again at the stage that we saw them over the last couple months. And I'll link the issue below. I have it up on my screen here.
Excellent. Was there one more? Mek, did you have a comment? And then
Yes, so I think all the comments have been from development, so I wanted to champion a voice outside of development that I've been really impressed with the speed that our team has moved to put us in a better place. So my sincere thanks and appreciation for the whole team. Thank you.
Yeah, and I'll second that. As a product leader, I think it is the hallmark of a really amazing R&D organization that we can pivot and tackle high priority tasks rapidly. And we've all worked at places where that doesn't happen, and we know what the results are. So thank you to everyone who reacted quickly and responded quickly.
yes, absolutely. And then Tanya.
Yeah, I think I have the last one. To echo what Craig said, we do have examples from this batch of rapid actions of the proactive approach actually working and reducing the amount of effort that's needed from source code in particular this time around. So I just linked down to what went well, number 2I, where that was written out with links. So it is a great approach to take.
Excellent. Thanks for highlighting that. All right, so now let's jump down into the improvements that we'll be talking about in the next retro, which Tanya, who you just saw, will be moderating. Tiago, I'll verbalize his since he's in Australia. It's very middle of the night for him. But they are going to be trying some suggestions that were proposed as part of their group level retrospective around how to improve the developer experience. So you can click through the suggestions, and then I guess we can look forward next time to hearing about how that experiment went. Christopher, you've got the next one, I think.
Yeah, this is just to basically look at potentially creating a training around upgrades and things that you should consider in development based on that.
The mixed version, discussion from earlier. Perfect. So we'll follow up on that. Mek?
Yes, sir. I'll follow up on the completion. We have a plan in place on reporting the, I want to call it the happy near misses, where we catch bugs ahead of time. I'll take the ball on that. Thank you.
Excellent. Love that. And then I've got the next one. Unless someone else wants to be DRI for it, I'll follow up about the rapid action retros and provide a summary next time. Dan, I think you're next on the list.
Yep, and I got the last two here. One, we wanted to follow up on the cross-group dependency tracking. So I've added that here to follow up on that next time. And then the next one was wanted to share on, we're working on a risk mapping for the package team in particular, and trying to create a good model for people to use otherwise, whether they have a software engineering test or not. And that's to help us improve delivery of quality and prioritization of that effort. I thought that'd be a good one to follow up on. Thanks.
Yeah, really interesting, important effort there. So yeah, thanks for adding that. That I think will be a useful one to talk about with everybody. So that brings us to the end of our agenda. Appreciate everybody joining us today. Hope to see you next month where Tanya will be moderating, and yeah, enjoy the rest of your day.